I would think that in the context of mass atrocities and genocide, prevention does not mean conflicts do not occur. But it's about not allowing, taking initiatives to manage the causes, not to escalate into violent hostilities and mass atrocities.
So prevention is the responsibility of understanding. Humans did genocide other humans in different parts of the world. The fact that it didn't happen in this particular location doesn't mean that cannot happen. And actually, the region is a very interesting case for this collective learning. The most striking example is probably Tanzania, because Tanzania is clearly a country that didn't encounter genocide per se, but was intrigued, was interested by the concept, and then ended up looking at the genocide prevention lens when intra-religious tensions in Tanzania emerged. And it's very clear that President Kuyate now is behind this approach, because prevention is simply the collective response to a learning that occurred for experiences that were clearly dramatic elsewhere. So you learn from the Holocaust, you learn from genocide in other locations, but you certainly want to learn in a way that is relevant to the locations where you are operating. And in the Africa Great Lake region, clearly genocide unfortunately happened in Rwanda, happened in Burundi, happened in Congo. There is a very important, terrible legacy of the past.
In the context of the Great Lakes region, issues of economic disparities, issues of discrimination along ethnic lines and religious lines need initiatives that do not allow those differences, the differences that political and economic policies generate, not allowing them to escalate into hostilities. They can be managed at a level where they are not yet violent, and opportunities are created for transformation at that level. That is my thinking. The point is, you engage decision makers, you engage communities, you engage leaders, and other programs that allow redress whenever grievances occur. It's not that these opportunities are difficult to find, but at some point, political ambitions of the leaders and so on, because again the paradigm is rooted into, is tooled with violence, and they fail to open those spaces for people to have a conversation about the grievances they have. So prevention would create those conversations, space for those conversations to take place.
To prevent, it just requires somebody to be knowledgeable or to know what kind of criteria show kind of categorization, dehumanization, discrimination in all the sectors. Because genocide happens because people are discriminating against a category, whether it's religious or regional, ethnic, and so forth. What can be done in this prevention is to make sure people are treated equally everywhere where they are, that they have the same access to national resources, that they are not people who are being frustrated and constrained to remain unspeaking, because by that frustration they develop this kind of hatred. But each one, each leader, each citizen has a role to play in avoiding this categorization, this discrimination, and this hatred. Whatever you do in your family, whatever you do in your community can really play a major role in preventing genocide.
How do we talk about peace in the face of insurmountable odds? Since independence, Uganda is a country that has been involved in different ethnic-centered conflict. Different regions has been put against each region's communities pointing fingers against you. So there's been lack of serious engagement in national reconciliation. But our take as the youth organization, as a human rights organization in Uganda, is to mobilize this conflict-affected society to come together, to talk about their own suffering, to develop a roadmap to a future of peace and security.
Any country in the region, any country in Africa should worry more about the divisions and international divisions that are happening and the mismanagement of policies, economy, social and political issues, because those are the drivers and the triggers to genocide. As many authors say, when a genocide happens, it's more likely that another will happen, which means like a curative method doesn't work. If we can try to prevent, that would work better. Like in Burundi, you see that we used to think that Tutsi are the only one who are committing atrocities and genocide against Hutu throughout the history. But now Hutu are on power and they have been included. But the current development kind of inspires to think of ways to address the issue, not in terms of ethnicity, but in terms of leadership, in terms of commitment to peace and peace building.
I was a journalist and a reporter in the Rwanda 1994 genocide from beginning to end. So knowing that there is a means by which you can control a genocide, other than us journalists who are simply writing category, how many dead, but actually some people who can predict, ensure that genocide is stopped in its tracks. If the ICGR was only doing that, then one can say it's the limit, the sky is the limit for it to be a useful tool in the region.
If we can engage into prevention, that is the launching pad to enduring peace and stability. It is cheap, it allows relationships to emerge that are constructive and not divisive. It allows for development to become sustainable.
There is no country that is immune. You could have been stable for long, no doubt about that. But nothing stops you if you don't take measures from also going into the line that the other countries have gone through. that have gone into conflict. It takes a short time. Haven't you seen beautiful countries, beautiful buildings, well constructed over time, being destroyed in a day? So they are very conscious, and I think they are taking proactive measures to make sure that they do not go into where their neighbors have gone, and they are correct. And I think that's what should be done. You should never say that we can never go into genocide. No, nobody should ever say that. Every country has potential genocidaires. They are there, except that they have never been allowed to mature to levels of genocide, committing genocide. And they are not allowed because the conditions that are on ground are such that they are not conducive for them to commit that. And those conditions are not coming from heaven. The conditions are created by our leaders, by our politicians, by our institutions, by our civil society, by our youth. The way they are nurtured, the way they are governed, the way they are handled, the laws that are in place are such that they cannot allow. The way they handle their economy, the way they handle their security are such that they cannot allow those conditions.
You need to have been in a genocide to know how to prevent a genocide. You need to know the suffering, you need to know the nature in which people are killed, you need to know that a person's ethnicity then becomes the weapon against which they are targeted, or their religion. You need to be there when you are picking a dead girl, a girl who has been living in a church of 300 dead bodies, like I did in a church in Rwanda in 1994, and the girl had been living in the dead for 3 weeks, to understand what a genocide is. So if people have not, or if, for example, you're a Ugandan, when the dead bodies were floating on Lake Victoria and people stopped eating fish for years and years, fearing the fish could have eaten the human flesh of the dead bodies, then you do know why it is important to prevent a genocide.
I do not want to see any other woman or communities live in fear and insecurity and uncertainty. I would not want children, my grandchildren and beyond, to grow up in a situation of uncertainty and be targeted as tools of violence. I don't want it. The world needs to be a peaceful space. What we're doing in Africa, what we're experiencing in Africa, what I'm experiencing, I would like to make sure globally it stops, because we want to see a prosperous, peaceful world for generations to come. The resources of this world are enough for everybody. It's just greed. So we should be able to have peace across the world.